One of the things that kills a relationship, I think this can be one of the greatest crowbars in any relationship, is the silent disagreement. So, what is the silent disagreement? Simply put, um, silent disagreements happen when two people have conflicting beliefs, expectations, or desires, but never openly address them. Instead, they fester beneath the surface, often unnoticed, until they erupt in frustration, resentment, or distance. So, what are some examples of silent disagreements? And I gotta say, it's like a thousand paper cuts. It's the smaller ones, right? Because usually the big disagreements, uh, they are exposed because they're big. You know, like if one, if you want to have a child, your partner does not want to have a child. You guys don't really talk about it. Well, eventually, it's a big deal. Eventually, there's going to be a conversation, right? So it's not the big ones; it's the little ones that kind of um, fall in between the cracks, or should I say, we allow them to fall in between the cracks. And a lot of times, we'll just kind of minimize it, or we'll just put up with it. But it's these little silent disagreements that can crumble the entire house. For example, let's take let's take making the bed, right? Uh, I make my bed now. Yes, I do. I'm a 51-year-old man, and I make my bed now. I did it before. Early on, I never made my bed. Part of it was it's not because I'm lazy. Part of it was like I didn't understand what the big deal was because it's going to get messy anyway. And I thought, well, why make your bed? No one's coming over. Uh, we're gonna mess it up later tonight. We're gonna sleep in it again. So who cares? Let's just close the bedroom door, right? That was my 20s, most of my 30s, and at 35, I realized the importance of making your bed. Now I know I'm being a little long-winded, but let me explain this. We'll come back to why this can be a giant crack. Something so subtle. Uh, I think now, or back then, I thought making your bed was kind of a logical thing, and then at 35, I realized that making your bed is about more than making your bed. And at least for me, it was about starting the morning with an accomplishment, telling yourself, your body, that you are going out in the world and going to do some shit. There's something about a disheveled bed, a bed that's not made, that has this energy that is lackluster, and it doesn't tell you that you're going to go out and conquer the world. It tells you that you're hiding, or that you're cutting corners, or that there's no need to do this thing. And I think, like the handshake, because one of my biggest pet peeves is you shake someone's hand and they give you like a dead fish. Oh, and I'm just like, if you're gonna shake my hand, shake it firmly, look me in the eye, mean it. And I think making your bed is that kind of gesture where I think people who make their bed, and you don't have to get all military and shit. You don't have to have an inspection, but make your bed every morning, because you're telling yourself you're going to go out and accomplish, or go out and conquer the day. You're going to go out and do something. You're leaving, right? There's going to be a going somewhere, a journey, and a coming back. When you don't make your bed, to me, it just feels like you're not going anywhere. So that's the value, I think, in making your bed. And of course, it just looks nice. And if you have a partner, you can't just make it about you. Your partner may want a clean room, organized room, so you're contributing to that, right? Anyway, so using that as an example, if one person doesn't really make his bed or her bed, doesn't care, and the other person, it really matters, right? And people can assume things about each other, because if both people don't really talk about it because it's not that big of a deal, and the person that always makes the bed just does it anyway because they don't want it unmade, and so they don't want to break their habit, so they just go ahead and make it. And then the other person never makes the bed, and this is never discussed. And imagine like years of this, right? How resentful the person that makes the bed is going to get. But more importantly, the person that's making the bed is going to get turned off that the other person doesn't want to make the bed. Does that make sense? So it's not just about making the bed. So, on the surface, there's like, why am I doing all the fucking work? But on a deeper level, on a more important level, it's going to start turning them off, and it's subtle. I get it. It's not a big deal. It's subtle. This is kind of like the whole thing with ambition. It's not so much that we're attracted to someone who is wealthy. I mean, you know what? People may disagree with what I just said. We're attracted to someone who has a fire in their belly, who is out trying to build something, make a dent, put action behind their passions, right? That's what's exciting and sexy. And yes, that could lead to quote unquote success and wealth, whatever wealth looks like for you. But it's not the actual coins. It's the drive, the desire, it's the ambition, Same thing with people who go to the gym. It's not so much that their body looks great. Of course, I think it's a perk. It's them taking care of themselves, right? That's what's attractive. Anyway, we all have expectations. We all have shoulds that we place not only on ourselves, but also with our partners, right? We have desires. And if they're not openly talked about, if they're not discussed, these disagreements can easily fall to the wayside, and we could start resenting our partners. We could start drifting. So how do you go about talking to your partner about things, especially something like making the bed or being ambitious or going to the gym, or even like, putting the dishes away? Well, I think it takes finesse because there can be a lot of defense, and these aren't, these may not be big deal breakers. I don't know. It depends on you and what kind of relationship you want, or what you find value in. But things like putting the dishes away, or domestic labor, or or if you're raising a child, everything that's involved in that. A lot of times, we will just do something because we don't want to make a big deal out of it, and then not talk about it, and that turns into a cavity, which eventually turns into a root canal, right? And so you have to address it. Now, it's going to be hard for people who are not used to addressing things, It's going to be hard for people who are avoidant. It's going to be hard for people who hate conflict. But I want to tell you, one of the other reasons why you have to address this is because you want to give yourself and your body a corrective experience. Because chances are, if you avoid conflict, and it's really hard for you to express your desires, wants, I shouldn't say expectations, but yeah, wants, desires, preferences. If you don't have strong muscles there, right? If you're not used to doing that, this is going to be very hard to do. And if you're not used to doing that, chances are that space was never created. Or if you did express yourself, you were, shut down or ignored. So there's like some trauma behind that, right? So it's more important to do it now with your partner, because the corrective experience you want to give yourself, your nervous system, your body, is that your partner listens to you, addresses you, supports, champions, and there can be a conversation without a fight, right? People aren't throwing chairs, people are being heard. So to me, as a therapist, that's more valuable than the actual solution. You know, the corrective experience of doing something where in the past there were consequences, but in this relationship there are not consequences. And because of that, your body's now believing this is safe, this is different, this is valuable. You know, the solutions can be sorted out, right? There's going to be compromise, there's going to be expression, and there also may be some disagreements and arguments and all that. But if generally two people are creating a space where you could talk about the silent disagreements, you can make the disagreements not silent by talking about them and hold safe spaces, and you can come to a solution, you can trust that. But more importantly, you're not going to, there won't be consequences because of your expression. People are not going to ignore you. People are not going to leave. People are not going to, be defensive and point fingers, right? Because giving your body, your nervous system, your soul, your mind, that new experience is what's ultimately going to produce relationship glue. And it's going to make you realize the value of this relationship. Now, on the flip side, if you finally muster up the courage to say, hey, listen, there are some things that I've been keeping silently that really bother me, like how you never clean up after yourself or whatever it is. And what you get is attacked, what you get is ignored, what you get is, whatever, then that needs to be addressed. Then the next conversation is, hey, whenever I express something, and tell me if I'm expressing it in a way that's hurting you, because I'm trying not to, but whenever I express something or a concern, instead of you listening to me, all I get is defense. We need to work on this. What can I do to make you not so defensive? What is going on with you when I say this? Why are you getting angry? Why are you slamming doors, right? That needs to be addressed, because if that isn't, then that's going to be the pattern, and that is not sustainable. People are going to eventually be afraid to talk, and then not talk, and then drift. But if that space is created and people take ownership, and one says, "Oh, I get now why you want to make the bed and why that's important to you. It's not just because you want a clean room. Of course, you want that, but also it's not because you're just a clean freak. It's because it means something to you. Oh, I get that now." And I could also disagree. I could also be like, "You're on crack. I don't know what you're talking about. To me, it's just the bed, But I can also disagree, but support you, and I could also understand that means a lot to you, and how your day is positioned, and that's your routine, and I could support it, and maybe half the day or whatever you guys decide, I will take care of the bed. Now, here's the other piece: the person who wants the bed made can't now become an inspector and say, not only do I want you to make the bed, but here's how I want you to do it. Now, this is where there could be another giant fight, right? Yes, the person can explain, hey, this is what it means to me for the bed to be made and why it's important to me. And then her partner can be like, okay, I get that, I understand it, I see it. I don't necessarily agree. I think it's a waste of time, but I will make an effort, and I will definitely make the bed, half of the time, right? Now, the person that wants to wants the bed made can't then say, okay, not only do I want you to make the bed more, but this is how I want you to do it. Do it right or don't do it at all. I've heard that. Because it's not fair to the person who never makes the bed, doesn't care, but now is making an effort, right? So I think that's where you have to really kind of gauge what is self-expression, what is okay, what is healthy, and what is now an expectation. An expectation is usually, here's how it needs to be done in this way, right? And that's not fair to the other person. And just because that works for you, it may not be the way that the other person works. My story with this is, I'm not very organized. I am clean. I am organized in that I do like I don't like a messy house, of course, right? But I'm not organized like in my head. I'm a bit of a mad scientist. I've always been that way. So it shows. It shows in, parts of my life, right? Now, my partner can say, "Hey, there are some things. There's some mad scientist things about you that are affecting me slash us." You know, um, I'm trying to think of like examples. Maybe like the way you pay your bills, or because of your mad scientistness, there was a part where something got damaged, or you know if something was forgotten, the bill was forgotten to be paid, or whatever. It's a fair statement. It affects us, so that's something for me to look at. But if my partner then says, "Here's what I want you to do. Now I want you to do it this way. I want you to have a calendar. I want you to, color inside the boxes." Like right now, she's telling me how to live, or how to do something, and that's where um, I think it can get sticky, right? So we can all express, and we should express how something impacts us, what doesn't work for us. And also, I think we have a responsibility to share why it impacts us, right? Not just that you don't like something, you know, you don't like the way that your partner spreads the peanut butter on the bread that should be toasted more, but like, why does that bother you? And also, what can you do to self-soothe or not try to grab control? You know what I'm saying? So there's like, and whatever you can do, you should also express that. You should also say, "Hey, um, here's how I prefer it, but I'm also going to sit with my own anxiety if you don't do it that way, and it's okay." You know what I'm saying? So that's like the day-to-day little things in a relationship um, that ultimately destroys or can destroy a relationship. And it's these silent disagreements. It's these things that we don't talk about, but we should. And there's a way to talk about them. And there is um, a passing of the line where it goes from healthy to unhealthy, where you're not just expressing yourself and your concerns, desires, preferences, but you are now telling someone how to do something, right? And that's where it's now bleeding into unhealthy. So, this episode may be activating for you if you are very organized, left brain, love being in control. But listen, um, I'm the opposite of that. I don't think it's about one person, or like one type or the other type. I think it's about um, a general understanding and rules of a relationship. And one of my rules of a relationship is that our disagreements can't be silent. We don't hold things in. If things matter to us and bother us, even if it's just a little bit, we do express it, but in a way that is coming from love, consideration. It's not coming from an attacking place, right? Anyway, things to consider. Thank you for listening. Be well.